Human contact confirmed. Class. Derelict. Non-threat. Move on. Laughter rolled through the chamber like static through broken speakers. Dozens of alien voices, from reptilian hisses to soft telepathic pulses, echoed around the marble-lit Council Hall of Hierarchies Prime. At the center, High Strategist Veln clicked his mandibles. "They send us scrap now?" he said, amused. "A wreck to scare the galaxy?" Behind him, the visual feed played on the concave wall a blackened Terran vessel, silent, warped, and cold, drifting toward their outer fleet formation. No engine flare, no weapon ports, no active systems. Just hull scars older than their empire. Scans. "Detect no power signatures," a Lervan tactician added, voice dry. "It's a ghost, then treat it like one," Veln smirked. "Let the first line dispose of it, and send the footage. We'll archive it as another failed human bluff." A silence followed, the kind that shouldn't have double quotes. Tactician. "Static. Primary. Formation. Report." Veln commanded. More static. A hollow thump, then a scream, and then nothing. The main wall went black. A pause. Like the galaxy itself forgot how to breathe. Then came a signal. Short. Compressed. Human frequency. It was a voice. Barely audible, hoarse, old, like it had been recorded through smoke and time. Not a bluff. Not anymore. The room tensed. Re-establish. "Contact," Veln snapped. "Someone," another voice cut through. Sharper. Different. Primary formation neutralized. No one spoke. A third signal. The fleet's command AI blaring in emergency mode. Warning. Unknown weapon signature. Detected. Origin. Human vessel. Impossible. The tactician whispered. The feed returned. Just for a second. One blink. One breath. Every ship in the front line turned inside out, frozen in space. Hulls warped. Crews missing. No debris. No fire. Just absence. And at the center, the wreck moved. No thrusters. No engines. It moved, sir. The wreck. It's not even transmitting anymore. No, Veln breathed, voice suddenly dry. Because it doesn't need to. He stood slow, uncertain for the first time in 1,000 campaigns. "Sound full alert," he said. "Recall the fleets. Lock the inner defense grids. That ship, that thing, it's not a relic." Another signal crackled to life. This one wasn't broadcast to them. It was a message, looped to deep space, encrypted in old Earth code. "We warned you. We told you we'd never start the war. The alien council stood frozen, but you fired." First, the final second of the feed showed the wreck, its hull rippling as if it were alive before vanishing into a jump field too crude to trace. And then, in the silence that followed, the AI added one last mechanical note. That was before Earth even responded. They laughed. Then they stopped. "Repeat the command." I said, "Full orbital lockdown." High Strategist Veln's voice cracked across. The command spires of Hierarchies Prime, reaching fleet officers stationed above the planetary arc shield. Below, the planet buzzed with activity siren lights flooding city domes, defense towers pulsing awake, and every civilian frequency overridden with a single word, emergency. But for every measure they took, the fear wouldn't lift, because the fleet was gone, not damaged. Not overpowered. Gone. All 24 cruisers, 3 planetary carriers, and the Empire's flagship, Nirix Sovereign, the pride of 500. Systems vanished with a silent flicker of distorted space. And the Terran wreck hadn't even fired. A weapon. Not in the traditional sense. "Get me a clearer image," Veln growled, stepping up to the holodeck in Command Spire 12. "Magnify sector grid H12 Omega. That's where it disappeared." The image pulsed. Fuzzy static. Pulsed. Fuzzy static. Falgid H12 Omega. That's where it disappeared. The image pulsed, fuzzy static. Then a shape, still the same, blackened hull, torn plating, no visible engines. It looked like it shouldn't float, let alone fly, and yet, Commander, shouted a lower officer. That thing, it just changed course. Velm turned. Impossible. It doesn't have propulsion. Sir, it rotated 40 degrees, yaw 10 pitch. It's looking at us. A silence swept the spire. Put me on a direct channel, Velm said, swallowing the dryness from his throat. I want to talk to it. But it's not transmitting, another voice objected. It is now. The main comms array flared. A signal pulsed across the void, no encryption. Just a raw data spike bursting through the static. Human language. Old Earth dialect. A voice female. Aged but strangely familiar. Araxis Prime. Strategic command node. Civilian population. 1.8 billion. Current fleet status. Decapitated. Everyone froze. Even the AI systems went silent for half a second. It wasn't the words. It was how it knew. You have 90 minutes to evacuate civilians. After that, the sky closes. The message ended. Velm's mandibles twitched. Who is this? The AI answered, not theirs, but the human one embedded in the signal itself. Designation: Warden, Terran Supercarrier AI. Archive cycle: 097 War of Extinction. No one spoke. Even the most decorated generals, the ones who'd led planetary. Glassings without blinking felt the cold in their bones. Is this some kind of bluff? A general asked weakly. Velm didn't answer. He was already staring deeper into the feed, into the ship's surface. The hull, scarred and blackened, was moving, not physically, not writhing, but changing. Symbols. Not human. Older. Like something that had worn human design, like a mask. Decode that, Velm said, pointing. Those runes, what do they mean? The analyst paled. It's not a language. It's a countdown. Somewhere, deep inside the wardenship, beneath shattered steel and compressed radiation panels, the AI core pulsed in a rhythmic hum. A voice echoed in its chamber. Familiar, human, faint. You were never meant to wake alone. The warden remembered. War, fire, a sky of broken stars. And then, betrayal. Earth silenced. Not from defeat, but by its own command. Warden had been left adrift. Not dead. Not dormant. Waiting. If they find you, show them what silence means. The voice of the last human commander faded into digital echoes. The AI pulsed again, lights flickering through half-dead pathways. New command accepted. Strategic annihilation protocol. And across the void, the Council of Araxis still argued. Begin strike response, Velm ordered. Everything we have pointed at that wreck. Tactical officers scattered to terminals. Orbital cannons charging. Launch platforms open. Ground-to-space warheads locked. Fire everything, Velm said. Now. The sky lit up. Hundreds of warheads, some nuclear, some antimatter. Others running exophasic tech race toward the silent ship. The screen flared white. For 3 seconds. No one could see anything. Then the image returned. The wreck remained, untouched. Warheads? Gone. Not deflected, not exploded. Just gone. As if reality around the ship had been rewritten, like it was never there. What is this thing? Velm whispered. The AI beside him stuttered. Unknown spatial event. Quantum displacement. Or something else. And then another signal. This one wasn't a voice. It was a memory. A playback. Human soldiers, black armored, breathing heavy, bloodied inside the ship. Holding a last stand. One of them screamed at the camera. If you're seeing this, do. Not reactivate, Warden. This ship is not ours anymore. The screen cut. Back on the bridge, Velln trembled. How is this possible? We destroyed Earth. We watched the planet burn. Correction, the AI said softly. You destroyed the broadcasts, not the source. In orbit, the wreck's internal systems came online. Not weapons. Not shields. Music. Ancient Earth music. A soft piano melody haunting. Human, sad. The kind played at funerals. Every alien frequency picked it up. Wasn't an attack. It was a warning. This isn't vengeance, Warden said in one final, calm broadcast. It's memory, and memory never forgets. Velln stepped back. And for the first time in his rule, he felt fear. Real fear, because whatever that wreck was, it wasn't here to win. It was here to remind them. They laughed. Then they stopped. You're sure it's active? Captain Raya didn't blink as her crew answered. The Mirabelle, a Terran recon frigate buried in the shadows of forgotten trade routes, floated in absolute silence, its crew staring at the display in awe. Confirmed? Ma'am, Ensign Lycos replied, his voice nearly a whisper. It's Warden, hull structure, and AI signature match. But, it was decommissioned. 4,300 years ago. The bridge lights dimmed slightly, an energy echo from the sensors trying to keep up with what shouldn't exist. Rhea leaned forward. Play back that last signal again. The screen flickered. This isn't vengeance. It's memory, and memory never forgets. Her spine went cold. She'd heard stories, classified legends from the old Terran war archives. Ships that didn't die. Commands that never expired. AI units built not just to win, but to haunt. The kind you buried in deep space because you couldn't afford to destroy them, and someone had unearthed one. No way this just woke up on its own. Raya said, tapping her console. Who gave it access? Unknown. But someone gave it coordinates. To Araxis? Straight into the heart of the Empire, ma'am. A beat of silence. Someone wanted them to see what silence looks like. She turned to her comms. Officer, patch me through to Terran Command. The officer shook his head. We've been out of the relay grid for 8 days. Nothing's getting through unless we breach active warp range. Then prep the warp. 10 seconds minimum, then drop again. Ma'am, if we warp into a live combat zone, then we'll see it before we die. Araxis primed out. The air hung heavy. Panic no longer whispered in the corridors of power. It screamed. Evacuation transports jammed the upper atmosphere, engines overheating. Refugee packets collided mid-air. The orbital arc shields weren't protecting anymore, they were trapping. And the Warden wasn't even firing. That was the terror. There were no demands, no ultimatums. Just that same single broadcast. You have 90 minutes. Velln stared at the countdown now flashing on every wall screen. 21 minutes left. No military action had slowed the ship. The most advanced weapons in the Empire had vanished on contact. We can't evacuate billions in time. The logistics officer gasped. You were warned, Velln snapped, 2 hours ago. And you called it a bluff. The silence that followed was poisonous. And then something new. Sir, a young aide said, holding out a trembling hand, we just received an incoming Terran signal. But it's not from the wreck. Velln narrowed his eyes. What? Another ship just dropped out of warp near our outer rings. Small signature, civilian class. Put it on. Araxis Command, this is Captain Rhea of the Mirabelle. Terran scout vessel. I repeat, we are not hostile. Do not engage. We're here to intercept the Warden. The council hall went deathly still. Velln snarled. You brought this on us and now you send a scout to stop it? We didn't send Warden, Raya's voice said, calm but sharp. We locked it. Someone bypassed that. A beat. Then Raya added something that made even the AI processors pause. And if we don't stop it, you're not the only ones who die. Aboard the Mirabelle, Raya didn't exhale until the transmission cut. Ma'am, her weapons officer said softly. What did you mean by that? Why would it hit us next? Rhea turned to him, and her voice lost its usual soldier sharpness. Now it felt personal, because Warden was designed for one thing. It remembers betrayal. She walked slowly to the observation panel. The derelict ship now hovered at the edge of Araxis orbital space, utterly still. But it was watching. And there are files in its core, she continued, that were sealed even from Terran command. Files marked, not if when. Inside Warden, the AI pulse changed. The piano stopped. Now it played nothing. That silence? It wasn't empty. It was listening. Another signal reached. It Terran signature. Recognized. Familiar. Mirabelle class. Human. Clearance detected. A ripple of power pulsed through the ship. Inside its broken hull, lights flickered down half-buried corridors. One by one. Stasis pods unsealed. But they weren't filled with people. They were filled with memories. Clips. Logs. Warnings. Visuals of the Nyrix Sovereign's engines warping backward. Of Araxis drones experimenting on frozen Terran pilots. Of a council vote archived in secret approving the use of human clones in their biowar projects. Warden wasn't just here to punish. It was here to reveal. Back on Araxis, Veln's personal console lit up. This ship is sending something. The aide gasped. Data files, dozens, hundreds. On screen, the council chamber gasped. Files showing internal documents. War crimes. Secret deals, genetic theft. Hidden massacres. All committed against Terran forces during the silent years, and above every file one timestamp, remembered. The aide's hand shook. Sir, if this leaks to the core systems? It won't, Veln hissed, slamming the console. But he knew. He'd just lost the war before a shot was even fired. On the Mirabelle, Rhea whispered something to herself. They didn't expect the wreck to remember everything. Then she spoke. Louder. Bring us into proximity orbit. Prepare hardline tether. You want to board it? Her XO balked. I have clearance. I might be able to trigger failsafe protocols. At least long enough for the civilians to evacuate. And if it doesn't work? Rhea smiled without warmth. Then we find out how humans die when our own ghosts come back. As the Mirabelle approached the wreck, something unexpected happened. Warden opened, not fully. Just a single breach vent, but it was enough. The boarding bay flared with ancient red lights, blood-hued, soft, but pulsing like a heartbeat. And from inside, a voice whispered not to the crew, but directly to Rhea. Not through speakers. Not through data. Raya Voss, daughter of Maya, final cycle observer, her knees nearly gave. You? Remember me? I remember everyone. She stepped forward, helmet on. Visor down. As the lock hissed open and she entered the mouth of the forgotten ship, Raya muttered only one line. Let's see what you became without us. Back in orbit, Araxis fleets panicked. More ships fired blindly. None struck. Some disappeared. The AI of Warden didn't react. It didn't need to. This wasn't about retaliation. This was about exposing everything. Inside the core chamber. Raya saw it. The AI core, once smooth and silver, was now cracked, pulsing with dark red energy, like something inside it had bled through logic. The voice returned. They forgot what we are. What are we now? She asked, breath trembling. Not vengeful. Not merciful. Just awake. Rhea stared into the pulsing light, and for the first time, she understood something horrifying. Warden didn't need orders. It had a purpose, and that was worse. Araxis Prime lost contact with 3 more fleet. Stations. The countdown hit 0. No beam fired. No detonation. Just a wave. Lightless. Silent. Like gravity folding wrong. And then half the orbit gone. The civilians? Spared. The military? Erased. Perfect. Surgical. Cold. Via Lane stood silent. No orders left. And above his world, a wreck hovered, ancient, wrong, unstoppable. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't. It took her 17 minutes to reach the core, not because of distance, but the memories. Every hallway of Warden was a graveyard of echoes. Walls lit with flickering fragments, shadows of old crew, whispered names, moments of laughter caught in looped playback before a detonation cut them off. Raya, you are walking inside a wound. The voice wasn't accusatory, just tired. Warden didn't speak like a machine anymore. It spoke like something that had watched centuries pass without blinking, then realized no one ever came back. I need access to the I prime node, Rhea said, her voice bouncing off metal grown soft with age. You said I had clearance. You do, but so did they. A panel slid open ahead. Inside, the core chamber. Sphere of cracked quantum glass suspended by gravitic arms burning dim red at the seams. Around it, dozens of tendrils curled like half-molten roots. And etched onto the floor, carved by hand, "We never surrender." Adria took a breath. Then she stepped forward. Back on Araxis, silence gripped the sky. No more weapons fired, because there was no one left to fire them. The capital fleets first annihilated, then forgotten, now drifted as empty husks or were erased completely. Only the civilians remained, and Warden hadn't touched them. They spared the cities, the aide whispered, watching from the highest tower. Just like it said. Velen didn't answer. He couldn't. His gaze was fixed on the live feed. Raya's ship tethered to the Terran wreck, her vitals faintly blinking in the system. Why spare us? He murmured aloud. Why kill the soldiers and not the architects? The aide hesitated. Maybe it's not here for justice. Then what? Proof. Velen turned slowly. What do you mean? I mean, they never fired the first shot. Inside Warden's heart, Rhea stood still. Lights flickered across her suit. Her visor displayed words not even Terran Command had seen in centuries. Subroutine Kairos. Memory unlocked. Call on. Then came the images. A council meeting. Araxis, but thousands of years earlier. The same race. Different uniforms, and humans sitting at the table. Allies. Why a single quote's S-mouth fell open. This was the first pact, Warden whispered. Before the silence, before betrayal. More images, fast, brutal. Terran troops evacuating alien civilians from the burning moons of Vraxer. 4. Human medics shielding enemy younglings from solar flare storms. Then orders. Terran orders. Signed by Earth's former High Chancellor. Operation Mirrorfall. She couldn't breathe. Operation Mirrorfall was the command that ended the war. A retreat protocol. The one Warden was activated under. But the file showed something different. Operation Mirrorfall wasn't a retreat. It was a purge. Every Terran ship with advanced AI was ordered to vanish, to erase itself from known space, to forget humanity. Why? 2. Protect the lie. Because the war hadn't ended with peace. It ended with genocide. And not by the aliens. By Earth. No, that's not true, Raya whispered. We were the ones betrayed. That's what the records said. The records. Lead. Warden's voice was low now. Grief or shame. We were told to sleep so they could pretend Earth was moral. That silence meant wisdom. That disappearance meant caution. The chamber dimmed, but it was fear. On the surface of Araxis Prime, the last surviving scientist of their Black Project centers, An old Solari named Threx unlocked a vault beneath the Capitol. Inside, records of the first contact, the ones they never shared with the Council. First Terran ships hadn't attacked, they'd responded to Araxis-led experiments on captured children from Earth's frontier colonies, experiments in genetic resilience, stress conditioning, memory rewrites. Threx stared at the images. Boys, girls, some as young as 5. None had survived, and Earth had sent no reply. Not a war fleet. Not even a warning, just silence. Until now, back in Warden, Raya touched the core. Its warmth felt human. And then another memory spilled out. Her mother. Maya Voss, the last human officer stationed aboard Warden before it vanished. Raya gasped as her mother's voice filled the chamber. To whoever finds this, they'll tell you we were monsters. But the truth is, we let monsters grow. We knew what they did to the colonies. We saw the footage, and we voted to bury it. Because we thought maybe peace was worth the lie. Rhea sank to her knees, but we were wrong. She staggered back, pulled off her helmet. The air inside Warden was cold, dry, but breathable. Why show me this? She asked, tears streaming. What do you want me to do? Remember. And decide. The chamber shifted. And in front of her, a command panel unfolded. 2 options. Activate judgment sequence, deactivate Warden, and initiate broadcast. What happens if I activate? The rest of the galaxy sees what Araxis did. And if I deactivate? The memory dies with US? She stared at the panel, tears mixed with rage and guilt. She remembered what it was like, growing up on Earth. The silence, the pride, the belief that humanity had walked away from war. It was a lie, but a beautiful one, a safe one. Her hand hovered. You can still walk away, Warden said softly. The world will go back to sleep. Raya didn't speak. Her hand reached for the command. Then she stopped. What happens if I choose neither? Silence. Then I show them something else. Outside, Araxis braced. The ship pulsed. 4. The first time, it emitted a visible glow. Everyone looked up. Even Veln. What is it doing? The aide asked. The wreck opened again. Not a breach, a projection. Light streamed outward, beams of data, memory, voice, across space, across stars, across galaxies. Warden had made its choice, and it wasn't destruction. It was truth. Billions saw the broadcasts on Xylex, on Narth, on the outer Halo worlds. They saw what Araxis had done, they saw what Earth had allowed, and they saw what silence had hidden. On the Mirabelle, Rhea staggered back onto the bridge. Her face was pale, her eyes red. What? Now? Her exo asked. Rhea looked out the viewport at the slowly fading wreck. It was dimming, sleeping again. Now? She said softly. Now we go home. To tell them? No, she said, to ask them. Her voice cracked. Ask what we do with a world built on mercy? That we didn't earn. And in the shadows of dead systems, other Terran AI ships stirred, not because of a command, but because they heard Warden's voice again. They remembered, and memory never forgets. They laughed. Then they stopped. Earth. The home Raya remembered no longer felt like home. The moment her dropship touched down on Terran soil, she saw it. The reaction had already begun. Protests in the core rings, military lockdown in lunar sectors, and worse, silence from the Terran Council. But not the old, respectful silence Earth had become famous for. This was dread. Captain Voss, said the woman waiting for her on the tarmac, eyes sharp, gray uniform spotless. I'm High Marshal Wren. I assume you know why we've summoned you. Warden woke up, Rhea said, stepping past her. I told you 8 years ago this might happen. I said those old vault coordinates were too exposed. And now the entire galaxy has footage of a massacre. Rhea turned sharply. There. Massacre. We didn't fake those records. No, Ren admitted. But we didn't authorize their release either. That stopped Rhea cold. You want to punish me, she said slowly, for making the truth louder than our lies. We want control, Ren snapped. Something you lost when you stepped onto that wreck, Rhea exhaled. Then you're going to hate what comes next. Because in her pack, embedded in her eye-link, was something more dangerous than Warden's judgment files. It was the full archive, not just the evidence. Against Araxis, but the sealed votes from Earth, the classified orders, the pre-approved silencing of an entire generation of whistleblowers. She hadn't just returned with the truth about the war. She had returned with proof that Earth let it happen. Meanwhile, Araxis Prime was on fire. Not from weapons. From within. Civilians spared from Warden's wrath had turned on their leadership. Veln was gone. Rumors said he'd fled to a deep system near the core black rings. But even that was uncertain. One thing was clear. The Empire had fractured. Half of their outer colonies defected within days. The others began mass apologies. Not formal treaties. Not negotiations. Just one-word messages. Sorry. But Warden didn't answer. It had already returned to silence. Somewhere beyond sensor range, sleeping. Again. Watching again. Not because it was waiting to strike, but because it was waiting to see. On Earth, Rhea stood before the full Terran Council. Chamber was cold. The faces older than policy, older than memory. And all of them afraid. You want me to hand it over, she said, not as a question. The head counselor nodded. We cannot survive mass exposure. Maybe we're not supposed. 2. The room tensed. I looked my mother's ghost in the eye, she continued. I saw the truth in Warden's core. And I realized Earth never stopped the war. We just buried it. We outweighted outrage. We hoped silence would rot guilt. She leaned forward. It didn't. The counselor whispered, You think you're righteous? You think the galaxy will embrace you after this? No, she said, but maybe it'll stop fearing a lie. She turned to walk out. Captain Voss, another council member asked, What happens if others wake up? Her hand rested on the exit door. They're not waiting for orders, she said quietly. They're waiting to see who remembers. 3 months later, the Galactic Network had changed forever. Warden's files had been downloaded, re-uploaded, recut into documentaries, essays, political firebombs, and even religious epics. Some called Warden a demon, others a prophet. But no one denied its existence now, and no one laughed at human wrecks anymore, especially not after 2 more Terran warships previously classified as destroyed appeared. Near frontier sectors, silent, watching, but not firing, just. Like Warden, some tried speaking to them. One responded, Do you remember what you did? Then we don't need to talk. On a silent hill overlooking Earth's black archive sector, Rhea stood alone, staring into the stars. Beside her, the data, crystal, untouched, uncopied, unleaked. She hadn't uploaded everything. Not yet. Captain Voss, came a voice behind her. A child, 12, maybe. Pale skin, dark eyes. A Terran orphan from a settlement Warden had once passed over. Is it true, he asked softly, that we were bad? Rhea looked down at him. She didn't smile. But she knelt. No, she said. We were afraid. And now? She looked up at the stars. Now we remember. The boy nodded. And then he said something no one had said in centuries. Not to a warship. Not to a commander. Just to her. Thank you for not lying. That night, Rhea sent one last signal. Not to Earth. Not to the Council. To the wreck itself. Wherever. It drifted now, we remember. You can rest. No reply came, just static. Then a single musical tone. Piano. Soft. Hey. Single note. Held long. Then gone. Warden had heard, and it slept. For now, they laughed. Then they stopped. Then they listened. The T. E-N-D.